it's the Rob from 106.1 KISS FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting.
Hey, it's Eric Cornish with WKDQ. Welcome to the Enhancement Talent. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to the folks, whoever sent it to me, Backbeat Books maybe, sent me this Pro Wrestling FAQ by Brian Solomon, former writer for WWE. Just randomly got it in the mail, so obviously somebody follows the Enhancement Talent. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to reading this, and maybe we can get Brian on the show sometime to talk about this book and his experiences with the WWE. So very, very cool. Also, we've got other big guests coming very soon.
Can we say?
Yeah, let's go ahead and say. Dan Engler, Evansville native and WWE official, formerly known as Rudy Charles, is going to be joining our show next week as well. So looking forward to having him on. Wright's High School graduate. Yeah.
That is very, very cool. And then after that, I believe we're going to have New Day on the show.
New Day going to be in the house. WWE Tag Team
Champions. The Tag Team Champions of Wrestling meet the Tag Team Champions of Podcasting, and I'm excited to see
we might just take the belts.
at least for a moment or two.
Yeah, and speaking of those guys coming to town, that's going to be for the SmackDown taping, which is coming to Evansville on May the 12th. And we've got one more winner to make in the Enhancement Talent section, and that winner is Gerald Miskell of Princeton. Congratulations. Yeah, Gerald, you're going to be in the Enhancement Talent section, or you might even be upgraded into the front row, plus get to meet New Day, plus get a bunch of other stuff from WWE.
WWE sent us a whole bunch of stuff that we will give to one winner that will be chosen amongst the winners we've already announced. So if you've been announced as a winner, you'll want to watch Monday's Enhancement Talent as well.
All right.
Should we talk about the news of the wrestling world?
There's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Let's start with wrestling legend, WWE Hall of Famer, and, of course, Minnesota wrestling great Verne Gagne passed away this week.
As Iron Sheik fans know him, but Mr. Verne Gagne.
Mr. Verne Gagne. Actually, Verne Gagne meant a lot to the wrestling business.
I would agree. Less so over the past couple of decades, but in the 70s and 80s as a promoter, 1,000,000% I agree with that.
If anybody had a chance to go head-to-head with Vince McMahon, just personally, I mean, other than Ted Turner, it would have been Verne Gagne. I mean, he was really going national before WWE was.
And he had probably the best product of all the territories outside of the WWF. You know, I feel like the AWA, I mean, they made Hulk Hogan before Vince did. They made Jesse Ventura.
Ric Flair.
They made so many people, and a lot of them Vince just straight up took.
Yeah,
They didn't change anything.
Yeah, he really did.
It's easy to mistake like some early 80s AWA for a mid 80s WWF.
Sure, and I will say this, that here's the one downfall, is that Verne Gagne was so stuck in the past, in the old ways. He really was into wrestling being a sport. He loved amateur wrestling. Mm-hmm. And as wrestling started to change, as society started to change, he was reluctant to go there. He pushed his son, which so many promoters have done, in a bad way. I mean, to me, Greg Gagne, one of the worst of all time. And I'm sorry, it just was. He just did not fit the mold of what should be a top guy.
But he was the promoter's son, the coach's son.
And so once Vince had rated all that talent, he had a hard time coming back. But, I mean, had a killer time slot. For a while, was on ESPN every day. I mean... You
can still see some of that like in re-airings too. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of rebroadcasts of those for whatever reason.
I just think, and his reliance on older stars, not only himself, but guys like Baron Von Raschke past his prime, and Mad Dog Vachon, and
great points.
And Nick Bockwinkel and guys like that, well past where they should have been. But I mean, to make a guy like Curt Hennig, I mean, that was in '87. That could have been the turning point if they had built their company around Curt Hennig and Curt hadn't gone anywhere. That could have been big for them, but it just didn't work out.
I'm a little surprised that he never unless he did and I don't know about it, he never worked for Vince as like a creative guy.
No.
Don't you think he would fit that mold? Like,
he might have. I think Greg actually worked with Vince a little bit.
Yeah, that feels like it's right to me. But Verne, he had a really good mind.
Yeah, he really did. A good mind for the business. He knew how to reel everything in. His reeling in, even more so than a guy like Cowboy Bill Watts or somebody like that, could have really made the legitimacy of wrestling, that part of it, let's make it as real as possible, could have reeled in everybody else that was all over here cartoonish. So, but anyway, he will be missed. Definitely a huge part of wrestling past.
And hey, remember when he killed a guy in a senior center?
Oh,
yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I have heard that story before. I think, yeah.
That was like the only time he was in the news like over the past 5 years was for this incident that happened in his old folks' home.
I gotcha. But yeah, Verne Gagne certainly a big part of wrestling's history, and he will be missed. So
one of the rare guys who made it to like old.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of wrestlers don't make it that old.
Yeah, so he really did. He was in his 80s. So. Moving on, the next story is a TNA story. We don't cover TNA a lot, but I got to tell you, TNA's product has gotten better and better. It's just hiding on Destination America. That's the problem.
It had nowhere else to go.
True, it had to go up. But now, interesting twist, and want to know your take on this. Now part of the creative team of TNA, Smashing Pumpkins lead man Billy Corgan.
Did you say he's the leader of creative?
No, he is the lead man of Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay, yes.
He was not going to be the leader of creative. That I know.
Billy Corgan is, I know him more as a rock star. I do consider myself a fan of like the 90s Smashing Pumpkins. He's kind of a weirdo. I've heard him in interviews a few times, which is rare that he gives them. But he kind of annoyed me. I told you this before we started recording. He really thinks highly of himself. He uses language I just found to be annoying. He's a guy who won't play his old hits, even though that's what people came to hear.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah, I found him to be kind of annoying, and I wanted to like him because I like his music. Mm-hmm. But I found him to be a little unlikable. But however, wrestling seems to always come up. And you see him closely associated with wrestling, and I am convinced he's a fan of wrestling, so I like that. It's I think that creatively, he may be on a different page than most wrestling fans.
I don't know where his mind is creatively. I know that he's had his own organization, even had a reality show that I don't think ever got off the ground nationally. But
he's always tried, yeah.
And that's fine. And there's nothing to say that he can't be a great creative guy, because there's guys out there that just have a good mind for the business, and you don't know who they are, but it just so happens that this guy is well known, and he's a rock star, and I think that has to have some part of the puzzle like in there, kind of like when WWE hired Freddie Prinze Jr.
I was about to say that.
It's kind of like, okay, he may know the business very well, and he may have some great ideas, but will he really work for WWE? I mean, he proved he didn't. But I think Billy Corgan, I think this, to be honest with you, is another attempt at publicity. Maybe it'll get more eyes on Destination America. Maybe it'll make people find it. But already in his first interview talking about this, Billy Corgan has said that it's going to be more real-life situations, more intriguing storylines. Maybe even, and of course, he gave this interview on the same day as the Bruce Jenner interview, and says maybe we can even deal with transgender issues. That's a horrible idea, and here's why. I'm not saying anything bad about transgender people or anything else, but when you put it in the wrestling business, things get out of hand. You know what I mean? Well, it automatically would make that person a heel, I feel like, and that's not the way you want to portray those. So already one bad idea for Billy Corgan. We'll see how it goes from here.
I will say this, though, to give him some credit, and I'm cautiously optimistic about him in TNA. 3 words I would use to describe him in all aspects of life, whether it's music or wrestling. I find him to be an intelligent man, I find him to be a creative man, and a passionate man. So if you put those things together in the world of wrestling, there's probably worse people you could have back there.
Very true. So we'll see. And I think still in charge is John Big Gobrick. So, if behind somebody who's been heavily involved with WWE for so long, it's a good idea. Like I said, the product's been better lately, and if you can only get your eyes on it and find Destination America, then you can actually find some pretty good wrestling going on. So.
And hey, Billy, play Tonight Once in a while.
Please.
Play 1979.
That's what brought you to the game, buddy.
Give us 0 once in a while.
Hogan's going to do the leg drop.
Exactly.
So anyway, moving on. Let's talk about King of the Ring. Back, with little fanfare, but it was back.
A few things I liked and a few things I didn't like about King of the Ring this year. Number one, I liked the layout of it. They had good matches. It was always a heel versus a face. They all told good stories. They were all good matches, I felt like.
Let me say this. Perfect brackets.
Yeah.
Those were like old school King of the Ring brackets.
Yeah.
Go back to the first bracket and look at the one Bret Hart won. They were all, guys that were mid-card, that could use the rub.
Yes.
And that, and it was all paired perfectly. This was a perfectly bracketed tournament.
Yeah, for most of the cases, I felt like anyone could win.
Yeah.
The only one I felt like maybe stuck out a little bit was R-Truth. I never thought he could win, but everybody else had a chance in my mind,
Right.
which I like. And so I agree. It was great choices, good matches, and a good winner.
Yeah.
I thought that Bad News Barrett, we even talked about this on Monday, would be a great King of the
Absolutely.
Ring. Here's the one thing I don't like about this. I feel like you have 3 hours on Raw now. You had the network special, and they used to run on pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I wish they'd find a way to run this on one night. I like the concept of someone beating
Exactly.
3 guys in one night.
Absolutely. And here's one of the reasons that you should do it. They're so adamant about doing these pay-per-views that actually have a theme now, you know, whether it's the Extreme
Yeah.
Rules. But like we talked about on Monday, we've got Extreme Rules, and you've got tables, ladders, and chairs, and you've got Elimination Chamber, and you've got Hell in a Cell, and you've got all these other... Why not King of the Ring, you know, so you don't have to throw in objects to make the pay-per-view sell. You throw in great matches and a theme to it, which is King of the Ring.
It's deep-rooted in tradition. It was one of your big 5 pay-per-views. I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It goes along with the Money in the Bank, where, you know, you make somebody that storyline continues. You know, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
You make somebody, you know, now the King of the Ring, it should technically make somebody in line for a big push, a big title shot, a big match somewhere. And I hope that happens for Wade, because he's struggled. You know, he's had the injuries, he had setbacks. Obviously, you know, he had to lose to Neville last week, but that was a good plan moving forward into the King of the Ring, the way things work. So I hope things are looking up for Bad News Barrett.
I hope so too. I also want to say I hope that this will. I want some consistency with King of the Ring. It has not been a yearly event. Over the past dozen years, you never know if, when, and where you would see it. Will it be on pay-per-view? Will it be on Raw? Will it be on the network? What month will it be in? It's always been in June before, and then now it's in April, and we didn't even know 2 days beforehand or 1 day beforehand that it was happening.
It happened in 2 days, and it was done. So
personally, I love to see it move to a pay-per-view in June, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think overall, it was cool to have it. I'm looking forward to see where it goes from here. As breakfast going on, yeah. But I gotta say, I like Barrett as the king. I hope he keeps that king gimmick, and maybe even drops the bad news thing, because I mean, he was getting over a little too much, you know, to be a heel. You notice he kind of changed the way he says, "I've got some bad news."
Yeah.
You know, to keep from getting cheered.
Perhaps a royal proclamation.
Yes. So I like the king gimmick on him. I hope he keeps it for a little bit.
Me too.
And really Neville coming out of this. 2 things coming out of it besides Barrett. Neville is on a great path. I love where he's going. I love the way he works. You know, on both ends, whether he's selling or whether he's on offense, I love it. And the other thing coming out of this Sheamus and Ziggler feud, I absolutely love. I think this is great.
I've been honest with you since he returned. I am into Sheamus now. It's not even I can tolerate him. Right now, I'm into him.
Yeah, so I think that's going well. You know, I'm happy with the way things turned out. So
don't forget to stay tuned on Monday. We've got the grand prize winner. On Thursday, we've got
Dan England.
Dan England, exactly.
Yeah.
And on the next show, we're going to have the New Day. I mean, we've got a very exciting couple of shows on the way.
Absolutely.
So subscribe to our videos and get them as soon as you possibly can. Click the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Anything else? Are we good?
No, I think that's it. That's going to do it for this week of Enhancement Talent, and we look forward to seeing you next week for some big winners right here.